I don't know what Miss Sarah J. Maas put in the Kool-Aid, but I think I might be drinking it. Hey besties, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing to you a reading vlog where I give authors that I have not previously liked a second chance. There are quite a few authors that I've only read like one or two of their books and I'm just really not a huge fan. And I thought, why not give them another go? Why not give them a good college try? Give them more energy to see if maybe my opinion could be changed. For my TBR, I have chosen 4 books from some very popular authors. First on my list is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. My history with Sarah J. Maas is that I read Throne of Glass, well I DNF'd Throne of Glass in about 2015. And then I think in 2016 I read ACOTAR and half of ACOMAF. And I didn't really like those. I think I gave ACOTAR like maybe 3 stars, and that was in 2016. I don't know if I would rate it that now. And ACOMAF, I think I thought it was boring, and I DNF'd halfway through, which is really like ludicrous because so many people love A Court of Mist and Fury, and so for some reason I was the odd man out. I don't know, there's just something about Sarah J. Maas's writing and those other 2 series that was not for me. Throne of Glass was by far one of the worst YA books I'd ever read, and that was in 2015 when I was literally a huge YA fan, and I read a lot of things that I wouldn't like now. But even at that time, my standards said no to Throne of Glass. So it's been a few years since I tried to read an SJM novel, so I thought I would give her another go by reading the first Crescent City book, which I think is called House of Earth and Blood or something like that. I've actually already started this, so we'll talk about that in a second. And then up next, we have none other than the book talk darling, Colleen Hoover. The grip that Colleen Hoover has on the TikTok girlies is unfathomable. It is just astronomical. Like, I don't know how she manages to do it. I think that they are keeping her book sales afloat. Like, Colleen Hoover was already pretty popular. After book talk, that girl is a millionaire. I read November 9 in 2016, and I have to say that was by far one of the worst and most horrifying books that I have ever read. If you've read it and you didn't like it, you know what I'm talking about. The twist in that book. After reading November 9, I truly believed I would never give Colleen Hoover another chance. I think her books are a bit too soap opera-y for me, a bit too dramatic, a bit too making light of trauma. They're just not for me. I don't blame people for liking them. I think that they're really valid forms of entertainment. But for me, I was like, no. But Katie Colson did a vlog recently where she read Verity by Colleen Hoover, and Verity is more of like a thriller. There's a little bit of romance in it, but apparently it's actually just very thrilling. And so I was like, I think that I might try to read Verity for this vlog. So we'll see what I think of that. We'll see how twisty and turny it gets. Katie had a big reaction to it and she said she really liked it. So you know what? I thought because Miss Katie gave it a chance, I'll give it a chance. The third author on my list is Mona Awad. She can be a bit divisive. Bunny is some people's favorite books of all time. For me, also kind of falls into the category of one of the worst books I've read of all time. I don't think I got it. I don't think I get it. Like, I understand some very respectable girlies love Bunny. We've got Books with Chloe, we've got Katie Colson, we've got I think Kayla from Books and Lala. There's a lot of people who love Bunny. They would die for Bunny. They think Bunny is such a good book. I, on the other hand, read it like, what the fuck? But she recently wrote another book called All's Well. And I think that one has something to do with like having a chronic illness and like using it to control people or something. I don't really know. I very vaguely know what it's about, so sorry if I butchered the plot. But I thought, why don't I give this weird girly another try? Why? She's like a weird author. I don't normally like weird stuff. I think the chances of me liking All's Well is pretty low, but let's just give it a go. Let's give Mona Awad another try, because the amount that people love Bunny make me want to like Bunny, but I know I don't like it. I know I don't. I gave it 1 star, but there's something about it. So I thought, let's just like start over with Mona Awad. We'll just read All's Well and it'll be a good time. And the last book on my TBR is by Lucy Foley. Lucy Foley wrote The Guest List, which was a pretty popular thriller, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, and I did not like that book. I don't tend to love British thrillers. They don't really rate high for me, but she recently came out with a new book, The Paris Apartment, and I'm gonna be upfront, I just really love the cover. I love the hot pink on it, so I thought, let's give Lucy Foley a revisit. So these are the 4 books on my TBR, and as I said, I've already started House of Blood and Earth. I keep butchering that title. I think that's the title. Maybe I'm not butchering. Maybe that is the title. I don't know. I've already started that. So let's just get into talking about that. I think I'm about an hour into the audiobook and I like it. I like it a lot. I'm so shocked because Throne of Glass, hard pass, hard pass. But this, so far, so good. This is an adult urban fantasy series, and we have our main character, Bryce, who is a half fae, half human. And when we start the novel, she is best friends with this girl named Danica, who I believe is like a werewolf. She's like a shifter, like she shifts into a wolf. I kind of went into the book blind, not knowing what was going on with the plot. Like, I knew that it had something to do with a murder and that she was gonna like solve it with like some sort of like angel police officer. That's all I knew about it, like from reading the synopsis slash people talking about it back in the day. Like, it had been a long time since I looked into this book. I gotta say, if you know, you know. When you start this book, Sarah J Maas introduces you to a lot of characters that you like right away. Like, she really is doing the world building so well. I'm so shocked to be saying this about Sarah J Maas, like, because I used to be like, ew, like her books are so basic, I don't like them. I know that makes me sound like a hater. I am a hater sometimes, I'm so sorry. I'm a petty bitch. And I know that Sarah J Maas is richer than I'll ever be, and her books are more popular than I'll ever be. So like, I'm sorry if you love Sarah J Maas, but that's how I felt before. This book might be turning the tides. I don't know, the world building is so subtle and done so well. Like, I love urban fantasy books. Like, I think urban fantasy is a really great genre because I love folding in like modern day stuff with fantasy, and she's just doing it really, really well. I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm just really shocked and like in awe of how much I like this so far. We'll obviously have to see how it goes as I continue the book, but basically Sarah J Maas brings you into the book and she's introducing the world, she's introducing the creatures, she's introducing the politics and kind of like understanding like the rank of all these supernatural creatures. Sarah J Maas did this thing where she got me to love these characters, and then I had a drop in my stomach when I realized, isn't there a murder supposed to happen soon? Like, isn't that in the synopsis on the back of the book? And Sarah J Maas, she went and killed the characters that I had grown to love in the time that I was reading. So she was sneaky for that. And so now where I'm at in the book is we're propelled forward over a year later, and our main girl, Bryce, not the same as she was initially because of her loved ones being murdered. And so I don't know, I like it a lot so far, and I already have felt a lot of emotions. Like, genuinely my stomach hurt when I realized that these characters that I thought I was gonna get to spend a lot of time with were not gonna be there anymore. And so I don't know, I'm really loving it so far, and I'm really shocked to be saying that because in the past, me and Sarah J Maas, we were not together. We were not an item. So I'm excited. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep reading. I have some work to do, so I'm probably gonna go do my day job as well as maybe read a little bit of the book, and maybe we'll check in later tonight. Okay, so I finished House of Earth and Blood, and chef's kiss, amazing. Sarah J Maas has been redeemed in my eyes. I immediately ordered a copy of the book. I am so excited to read House of Earth and Sky. Like, my life's actually been changed by reading about our little characters, Bryce and Hunt. Like, it was just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. I honestly don't remember the last thing I said about it, like when I was introducing the book. I know I haven't been filming like a ton of vlog clips. I will say, if you were wondering why I was crying in the last clip, I just want to give everyone a warning, like pro tip, oh, my dog's drinking water in the background. I was so afraid she was throwing up. Do not listen to the library scene at the end. Like, you know what I'm talking about, the big library scene at the end, if you know, you know, while doing your makeup and hair, because you will cry after putting really nice makeup on. I was like, oh my god, I was going through a lot of feelings, like literally when that thing happens to that character, I was googling fan art of that character because I was like, I want to know what they looked like, I want to connect to them, I can't believe that happened, and I was like, oh my god. And that wasn't even the last time I cried. I then dried my tears, made sure my makeup was all right, drove to go have dinner with a friend, and was crying during the drive because more sad things happened toward the end of the book. I loved that book. I cried at the beginning, I cried at the end. I had fun in the middle. I will say, very interestingly, I don't really care about the sex scenes. Like, the romance is probably the least of my interest in the series. I love the fantasy, I love the magic system, I do love the characters. I like the romance between Hunt and Bryce, but it's not like my main focus. But I just completely redeemed Sarah J Maas for me. I still probably will never read the ACOTAR series, like that's just not for me. Like, I read 1.5, I wasn't feeling it, and I don't really like Throne of Glass. But this, like adult urban fantasy, Miss SJM, Sarah Jane. I don't know if Jane is her middle name, but it is J. I'm gonna call her Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane, Miss Sarah Jane. Write more adult urban fantasy, please, please, please. And the magic system and the world that she made for this, I know it's supposed to be like some sort of spin-off of A Court of Thorns and Roses, because I kind of feel like the Fae are like the same, and I think the idea is that there's like multiple realms and this is a different realm. So I can see what she did there, but she could write so much more in this series, like so much more. Like there's so many species and there's so many characters. Like I would love to read a story about the mare, is that what they're called? Like the mermaid people. I think they're called mare. I don't know, maybe they weren't. But those people, I feel like that would be interesting, like a little underwater, like Ariel moment. I don't know, I loved it. I loved it so much. Also, side note, unrelated to Sarah J. Maas, unrelated to this book, I got this sweatshirt off of Etsy. I saw it on TikTok and I was like, I actually need that. I literally need that in my life immediately. Immediately went to Etsy and spent $65 on it. I did this in like March and I kind of forgot about it, and it came today and it's amazing. As you can see, it says, "This is the ass of a killer, Bella," which obviously is a reference to "This is the skin of a killer." I just thought it was hilarious. I'm not even that huge of a Twilight fan. I loved Twilight when I was a teenager, but I kind of grew out of it. I'm not really one of those people that still feels a lot of nostalgia for the series, but I think this is hilarious and I want to wear it all the time. I'm glad that I work from home because obviously I wouldn't be able to wear this in an office. Like you will be seeing this in so many vlogs. Like I'm literally obsessed with it. But yeah, I did move on to Verity by Colleen Hoover, and I have to say I'm not loving that quite as much as House of Earth and Blood, but I also feel like that was like hard to top because that's like literally going to be on my favorites of the year. Like it was just fantastic. Like if you know of any other really good urban fantasy, please let me know down below, because I feel like that is a genre that kind of suffers from a lot of like cheesy writing, and I do love a little cheesy urban fantasy here and there. I love it, love it. It's fine, it's fine, it's normal, it's part of the genre. I mean, romance novels are like that too, and I can take a bit of that, but this one was like, the writing was fantastic, the dialogue was so funny, snarky, loved it. Like I have seen critiques of this Crescent City series. Like I actually saw someone read the sequel recently and they were talking about how they didn't like Bryce's one-liners and stuff, but I kind of feel like it was just made for me. Like I'm the right reader for that. But like I said, moved on to Verity, and I have only read one Colleen Hoover book. I've read November 9. I read November 9, I think in like 2016, and I hated that book so much. It was giving horror novel, it was giving thriller, but it was supposed to be a romance. Like if you've read November 9 and you know what happens at the end of that book, yikes, like actually yikes. Like for anyone who romanticizes that, not for me, not for me. I don't know if I talked about the plot earlier, but Verity is about this girl, Lowen, who is an author, and her books are kind of lagging in popularity, they're lagging in sales, and so her publisher is not really trusting her to like publish more books, but she gets reached out to be sort of like a ghostwriter for a really popular series because the author, Verity, I don't remember her last name, but her name's Verity, was in a car accident and she's unable to finish her really popular series, so they hire Lowen to go and write it. And so she gets invited to go to their family homes. Like the husband invites her to come because he's like, come on, my wife is, you know, she's not responsive, she can't write the book, and you come and you can like look at her notes in her office and you can do this whole thing. And so in the part in the book that I'm at, she did just show up at the house, and from what I know from like people talking about this book is it kind of isn't really a romance like Colleen Hoover's other books. Like there's a little bit of romance, but mostly it's like giving thriller vibes. So I'm hopeful that I'll like it, but so far the writing is just, it's not giving, but I'm intrigued. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what happened to this lady that was in a car accident. Also in her office, she just discovered that not only does she have notes for the other books that she needs to write, she also has like an autobiography that she wrote. And so in the audiobook, it's actually interesting because there's a different narrator for that. So we're actually going to get to hear some of that retelling of her life, of Verity's life, I mean. And so Lowen is kind of like checking into that. So I'm interested to continue on that. But yeah, that is my update so far. I am just live, laugh, loving Sarah J. Maas's book, and this sweatshirt, it just literally like makes my whole existence. Like I love this sweatshirt so much. If you are wanting to also get your own sweatshirt, the Etsy shop is called Twilight X Ho, which is very fitting for the materials that she sells. But I love it, and this sweatshirt is very comfortable and I really like it. I don't know if like $65 was like really worth it for the quality of the sweatshirt, but it's embroidered, and also she's like collaborating with an artist, so I just feel like pay the people for the products that they're making, and I love this so much. Like it literally brings me so much joy to look at it. But yeah, so a few things have changed since we last spoke. Obviously one of them being that I'm now a redhead. I'm giving ginger. I love it. I personally love it. If you haven't seen the vlog where I became a redhead, I will link that down below. I'll link it in the cards. You can go and watch it. I did a reading vlog where basically I read a bunch of romance books, and I also like changed my hair, and we're living for it. Like I really like it. Hopefully you like it. I don't know. I really like it. I've never been anything but blonde in my life, and the red is giving warmth. It's giving energy. I just feel like more saturated, if that makes any sense, and I'm really liking it. So that's a thing. But beyond that, I have finished Verity since we last spoke, and I know I described the plot to you and that I was like unsure if I was gonna like it because I wasn't very like far into it when we last spoke. Since finishing it, Colleen Hoover has not been redeemed in my eyes. I will not be reading any more Coho books in my lifetime. Her books are giving trauma porn. They're giving why, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? You know? Like I was saying, Verity was in a car accident. She's comatose. She can't finish her award-winning series. So her husband approaches Lowen and he's like, hey, come to my house, come finish her books, we'll pay you a bunch of money. And so Lowen of course goes, because she's like, chance of a lifetime, gonna have a lot of money in my bank, let's go do it, get that bag. And so she goes, and for all the bitches who said that Verity is more of a thriller than it is a romance, you actually were lying to yourselves, because this is very heavily a toxic romance with a bit of thriller laid on top. And don't get me wrong, the whole story is a what the fuck moment. So the fact that the relationship is kind of weird kind of fits into the story, because the story is meant to be very like topsy-turvy, whatever. But as someone who really enjoys the thriller genre, the romance kind of killed it for me. I really wish there hadn't been a romance in it. A huge part of the story is that it is about the death of children, because Verity and her husband, I think his name is Jeremy. So Jeremy and Verity's 2 daughters died previously in like the last few years, and so there's some suspicion about how they died and like what happened to them, and so that's part of the mystery and the thriller that you're kind of going into in the story. But the romance between Jeremy and Lowen gave me so much secondhand embarrassment, because listen, picture this. Verity is laying in a bedroom upstairs. She's got a nurse that comes in every day to check on her and take care of her, and then Jeremy's also like doting on his wife, who's literally comatose, like literally has a brain injury, and him and Lowen just start having a romance like while she's writing a book. And don't get me wrong, there is a memoir that Lowen is reading, which I think I mentioned in the last clip, where she like found this autobiography that Verity wrote that kind of leads you to believe that Verity is not a very good person, like she's actually not what you think she is, and so she's actually like a very bad mom and a bad wife and just kind of an evil person. So I feel like Colleen Hoover did that so that we would feel okay with the fact that Lowen and Jeremy are like fucking in the master bedroom when Verity's literally upstairs like unable to walk or speak or talk. Speaking and talking are the same thing. Listen, if you enjoyed Verity for the entertainment factor, I will give that to you. I had a hard time enjoying it because of how much sex there was. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love a smutty book. I love a smutty book, but it just didn't sit right with me that in one scene we're talking about dead daughters and how Verity like can't like take herself to the bathroom, and then the next scene Lowen and Jeremy are having like a fuck session for like 12 hours. Like, it just was grossing me out, giving me the ick. Like, I've never felt so much secondhand embarrassment for fictional characters. Like, everything Lowen and Jeremy did, I was like, oh, please stop, please stop. I actually kind of liked Verity the best out of everyone, and she was literally the villain of the story. Like, I really didn't like it, and I don't really understand Colleen Hoover's mind unless she watched a ton of Lifetime movies, like D-list, very dramatic Lifetime movies growing up, and she absorbed those into her brain and heart and was like, this is the kind of story that I want to tell in my life. And I understand I'm being really offensive about Colleen Hoover right now, and probably some of you girlies love a little coho here and there, but I'm sorry, I don't get it. I don't get the fascination. Like, it's giving trauma porn. Like, it's just bizarre. Like, she's like, what's the most fucked up thing I could write in the story? Oh, I'm gonna write that. And I understand that this one is more of like a thriller label, so she can kind of get away with more of that, but she even does this in her romance books. And then there's like a twist at the end. Like, a lot of people who've read Verity will say they're either team manuscript or team letter, and I don't actually care. I'm actually neither team. Like, I literally didn't care what the truth is, because that book was just literally like so cringy. Like, I didn't enjoy it. But again, I'm not trying to insult if you enjoyed it, like if you enjoyed it in like an entertainment factor way, because I have plenty of book series that I know are not that well written or are kind of like off the wall that I wouldn't really want you to rate them on quality. But I think for me, I wasn't really having fun while I was reading this. Like, I did want to know what was going to happen. And that was another one of my complaints, is that I think part of why I also was very disappointed by this book is that I was trying to buckle in and be like, all right, I'm here for this ride. Like, I want to know more about what's going on with Verity. What happens at the end with Verity was so, like, it's just so rushed towards the end. And so by the time we got to the team manuscript versus the team letter thing, like, I was like, you've kind of already ruined the story for me with this like big thing that we were building to happening in like one paragraph. Like, it didn't pay off for me, and I really did not enjoy it. And unfortunately, I will continue my Colleen Hoover ban. I will not be reading any more of her books. Like, I can't be bothered. They're not for me, and she has so many adoring fans in the world. I do not need to keep reading her books just to give them bad ratings. Like, I don't think she wants that. I don't want that. I don't think her diehard fans want that. Like, you can get a lot of hate for hating Colleen Hoover, so I don't want to add to it. I'm just gonna leave it here and say, If you enjoyed Verity, I love that for you. I love that journey. I personally was really uncomfortable with the amount of just like gratuitous sex. Like if you took out all the sex scenes in that book, it probably would be like 100 pages shorter. Like it was so much sex to the point where I was like, is this not supposed to be a thriller? I don't know. But anyway, to my point, if you love it, I love that for you, but for you, not for me. Okay, since then, I am almost done with All's Well by Mona Awad, and I don't know how I feel about All's Well. This is about a woman named Miranda who is suffering pretty intensely from a chronic pain that is in regards to an injury that she got when she was younger. She was an actress performing in a stage play of Macbeth, and she fell off the stage and injured her hip and then got surgery, and then it just kept getting exacerbated and injured from there. And so she cannot find any relief for this pain, and so it's pretty like horrible for her. And so the first quarter of the book is a lot about her chronic pain and what it's like to live with chronic pain. I don't know if Mona Awad herself suffers with chronic pain, but to my knowledge, I feel like her representation of how just agonizing and endless it can feel feels pretty accurate. Again, I'm not someone who suffers with that, but my mom is someone that has chronic pain, and you know, I've heard from her and then I've heard from friends what it can feel like. I have friends with endometriosis, so I know that like just having pain that won't go away, like how terrible that can be. And so a lot of the book is about that. So she comes across these like magic men. I don't really understand. They're like a trio of men. They kind of were giving me like the Three Witches from Macbeth. I think that was the vibe, because there's a lot of Shakespeare in this book. Like as you can tell, it's called All's Well, and Miranda is a like theater director, and so she works at a local college and she helps like put on plays, and so they're going to be putting on the play All's Well, and it's like this whole thing. And so I feel like it's meant to feel kind of witchy and Shakespearean. And so there's like these three men that show up, and basically Miranda is given the power of like taking her chronic pain and transferring it to other people so that she feels better. And I'm trying really hard to understand the symbolism of this book. I will say I like it a lot more than Bunny, because it's a little bit more straightforward with Bunny, but that's not to say that it's straightforward. Like I still don't fully understand what's going on. And I tried to read some reviews of other people who've read All's Well to see what they thought, and it feels like it's really missing the mark for a lot of people, even people who loved Bunny. Like it got 3 stars from a lot of people. And so I'm trying really hard to understand like what's what while reading this. Like the plot, like I said, is more straightforward than Bunny, but at the same time there's still a lot of like symbolism and like things to like be worked out from the literature. I don't know. I'm not loving it. Like I think if I were to rate it right now, it would be like 2 or 3 stars. So I'm kind of struggling to finish that right now. I really want to kind of DNF. Not because, again, not because it's bad, but because I still have like 2 hours left of the audiobook and I need to move on to read Lucy Foley's book. And I'd rather read Lucy Foley's because I feel like The Paris Apartment at the very least is gonna be like probably a 3-star for me, because you know, it's gonna be a fun little British thriller. Why is thriller always so hard to say? But I'm still liking it more than Bunny. I wouldn't say Mona Awad is being redeemed per se, but I definitely would say I am enjoying her far more than I have in the past. So there's that. So I finished All's Well by Mona Awad, and did I like it more than Bunny? Yes. Did I like it? No. Preferred this over Bunny, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that Mona Awad has been redeemed for me, because I just don't think we gel as reader and author. I think her books are meant for someone a lot more intellectual than me, someone who enjoys weird stuff, who will get all the symbolism that she's trying to say. I thought that this story about chronic pain hit a little bit better for me than the kind of like Heather's mean girl pretentious writing college story that Bunny was. So I definitely liked it more, and like I said, it was more straightforward. Like it was still kind of weird and all over the place, but I felt like I could follow what was going on in the story a lot more than I could with Bunny, but I still didn't love it. So unfortunately for Miss Mona, this is where we're gonna part ways. I will no longer be reading any more of her books. I think I gave her a good second chance, and we can just amicably split and say that we're gonna grow as separate people. We didn't grow together in our relationship, and that's fine. And if you girlies love Mona Awad, I love that for you and I love that for her, and you just get on Goodreads and you give her those good reviews, and no hard feelings, no hard feelings, except for when I read Bunny. I did have a lot of hard feelings when I read that. I didn't like that at all. But with All's Well, all is well. All's well that ends well. Look what I did there. Also, since we last spoke, I've also finished The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. So I don't know if I talked about this earlier in the video, but The Paris Apartment is about this girl named, I think Jessica. I think her name's Jessica. If it's not Jessica, then I don't know what her name is. But she is going to Paris to stay with her half brother. And when she gets there, like when she gets to his apartment, it's like this swanky, very like wealthy apartment building. When she gets there, he's missing, and there's all these clues in his apartment that something bad has happened, that maybe he's been murdered or he's missing, like something's going on. And so she kind of wants to get to the bottom of it. And so she kind of falls down this hole of like following after all these leads and like getting like embroiled with like this very rich family. It's like a whole thing. It was fine. Like I wanted to know what was going on, but I kind of guessed every single twist before it happened. Like I had a lot of thoughts as I was reading it, and I ended up being right about a lot of them. And overall, I don't think this was a bad book. I think this was a very meh book. Like I probably will rate it like 3 stars. Like I'm probably gonna rate All's Well maybe 2 stars, and then this will probably be like 3 stars. Both being books that I don't like hate like a ton. They're just like not books that I ever really want to talk about at great length or like recommend to anyone or anything. So yeah, the Paris apartment was fine. Like it was just fine. Like literally fine is the only word that I could give it. Like I didn't have a bad time reading it, but I also didn't have like a great time reading it. Like I kind of blew through it in one day, and I was like, okay, we'll probably never think about this again. Like I don't know, there's something about British thrillers that just like doesn't do it for me. I don't know why. Lucy Foley, in my opinion, is basically Ruth Ware with better writing and better characters. Like there's something similar about the way they write, but I feel like Lucy Foley is doing it better, but I still don't love it or like it. It's fine. Like it's just literally fine. I keep saying the word fine because that's literally what it was. It was just fine. Lucy Foley, unfortunately, was not really like redeemed all the way in my eyes. Like I did like this book more than The Guest List, but I didn't like it enough for me to continue to read like Lucy Foley books in the future. Unless she writes a book where like literally everyone under the sun says it's the best thing since sliced bread, I probably won't pick up another Lucy Foley book. She's kind of giving, like I said, like Ruth Ware, where I had this thing with Ruth Ware where I read like 4 or 5 of her books until I finally had to accept that I just don't really like Ruth Ware books. And so I think that's my feelings towards Lucy Foley, unfortunately. So yeah, unfortunately that was a miss as well. To close out this video, I want to say that we did have one major success from this experiment, and that was this book right here. Who would have known that Sarah J. Maas would have been the one redeemed in my eyes? Again, I'm not going to probably read ACOTAR or anything like that, but anything in this series, anything going forward like that's urban fantasy from Sarah J. Maas, I will be eating that shit up. I will be like, thank you, Sarah Jane. Still don't know if her middle name is Jane, but I'm going to keep saying it. Just absolutely love this. Phenomenal. Like, this will be on my favorites of the year, and I'm definitely going to read the sequel soon because I loved this so much. I am an SJM convert. Well, not really, because I still am not going to really read her backlist, but moving forward, Sarah with an H, Sarah without an H, shaking hands, I love you. If you think I should do a part 2 of this video, I have some other authors that I could give a second chance. Let me know if you want to see a part 2 down below. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of this vlog. Let me know what your thoughts are on all these authors and the books that I read, the books that I read previously. Like, let's just have some discourse about it, and maybe let me know some authors that you haven't liked that maybe you want to give a second chance. I don't know. We'll just talk about it in the comments. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.